The ashes remember. The silence after the storm was louder than the war itself. The underground air was thick with the scent of burnt metal and dust. Sparks still danced across the shattered remains of the haven's once glowing walls. Frank stood in the debris, half his face shadowed by flickering light. His uniform was torn, his hands shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of survival. Annie knelt beside a wounded comrade, her fingers trembling as she tied a bandage. The once vibrant hum of their base was gone, only the low crackle of collapsing cables filled the void. Every corner whispered loss. Raven's voice echoed faintly through the smoke. You learn who you are when everything you've built burns around you. Frank turned, watching his mentor emerge from the haze. Calm, unreadable, his mask cracked. Yet behind that broken mask, there was something more human than Frank had ever seen: regret. They walked together through what was left of the control room. Broken monitors flickered with static. One, however, still pulsed with faint green light. Annie noticed it first. Frank, look. She wiped the soot from the screen. It wasn't just a system log, it was a message. A secured file labeled Project Origin, Mercury. Frank's heart froze. His father's name. Raven's eyes darkened. That file was supposed to be destroyed years ago. With shaking hands, Annie opened it. A cascade of encrypted codes unfolded across the display, symbols flickering like a heartbeat. Then, a video feed. Blurry, old, but unmistakable. Frank's father stood in the center, wearing the same mask Raven once wore. If you're seeing this, his father's voice echoed, then the truth has already started to hunt you. Annie gasped. Frank stepped closer, tears cutting lines through the ash on his face. The Helix was never the enemy, the voice continued. They were the shadow of something far greater, something buried beneath the city, beneath you. The screen went black. Silence. Raven's expression hardened. We have to leave. Before they find out what you've seen. Frank clenched his fists. No more running. And for the first time, Raven saw it, not the boy he trained, but the fire of a new hero awakening in the ruins. The ashes of the haven glowed faintly in the dark, as if remembering the birth of something that the world had long forgotten. The city above was asleep, unaware that beneath its streets, ghosts of the nations past were waking. Frank, Annie, and Raven moved silently through the tunnels, guided only by the dim blue glow of Annie's portable scanner. The air was colder here, humming with a strange vibration, as if the earth itself remembered the secrets buried inside it. This place wasn't built by Helix, Raven muttered, scanning the carved steel walls. It's older, government-level clearance. Something I thought was erased. Annie glanced at the symbols engraved into the metal, identical to those she had seen in her father's recovered files. It's Project Origin, isn't it? Raven didn't answer. His silence was confirmation enough. As they reached a rusted vault door, Frank pressed his hand against it, and a faint pulse responded. A biometric lock. The scanner lit up, reading his DNA. The door hissed open with a low metallic roar, releasing a gust of icy air. Inside, rows of suspended pods glowed in pale blue light. Each contained a still, shadowed figure, human, yet not quite. Some were wearing old military insignias. Others bore the Helix mark burned into their flesh. Annie's voice trembled. What is this place? Raven's tone turned grim. This was the government's greatest sin, a lab where they created synthetic heroes. People engineered to fight, obey, and never question orders. Frank stepped forward, his reflection trembling on the pod glass. One pod caught his eye. It was marked number 001 Mercury. He froze. Inside was a lifeless clone of his father. That's not possible, Frank whispered, his voice breaking. Raven's eyes softened behind his mask. Your father volunteered to destroy Project Origin from the inside. But they used his DNA before he could stop them. You weren't supposed to find this, Frank. Annie clenched her fists. And yet we did. Because lies never stay buried forever. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The hum of machinery turned into a high-pitched alarm. The pods began to awaken, one by one, their eyes opening with a dull, crimson glow. Raven, Frank shouted. Move. Raven barked, pulling his weapon free. The first clone burst from the pod with unnatural strength, lunging toward them. Frank rolled aside, firing a stun shot. The impact barely slowed it down. Raven countered, slicing through its restraint cables with surgical precision. Annie hacked the control terminal, frantically trying to shut down the activation sequence. Her voice trembled, but her focus was razor-sharp. "It's not stopping. Someone's overriding me." A voice echoed through the chamber, metallic, distant, chillingly familiar. "Welcome home, children of the fallen." Frank looked up at the surveillance camera, where a single glowing red eye stared back. "Who are you?" he shouted. "The beginning," the voice replied. "And the end of everything your father tried to protect." The ceiling rumbled as more pods opened. Sparks rained down. Raven fired a smoke grenade, covering their retreat. "Run!" he commanded. As they fled into the tunnels, the red lights followed them like a heartbeat, one that refused to die. And somewhere deep below, the system reactivated a final file. Project Origin, Phase 2, Mirror Rebirth. Frank didn't know what it meant yet, but he could feel it. The war wasn't just about nations anymore. It was about the truth of what made a hero, and what destroyed one. The tunnels shook as if the earth itself wanted to scream. Dust fell from the ceiling, pipes rattled like bones. The alarm's wail followed them through the darkness, a haunting rhythm that pulsed with every step. Raven led the way, his flashlight slicing through the smoke. "Keep moving," he ordered, voice cold but urgent. Frank's lungs burned. Annie clutched her portable drive tight against her chest, the only copy of the Project Origin data she'd managed to extract before the system collapsed. Behind them, something breathed. Slow, deep, mechanical. Frank froze. "Did you hear that?" Raven turned, weapon raised. The tunnel was empty, for a moment. Then a distant thud echoed, followed by another. He knew that sound too well. "They've released it." Annie's eyes widened. "Released what?" Raven's voice dropped to a whisper. "Phase 2's prototype. A living weapon, designed to adapt to every enemy it faces. It learns. It evolves." Before they could react, the lights ahead flickered, and a tall silhouette emerged from the smoke. Its skin gleamed like liquid metal over flesh, shifting with every movement. Its eyes glowed an unholy red, but behind them flickered something human. Frank stepped forward, trembling between fear and fury. "What is that?" Raven didn't answer. He simply aimed his gun. "Run, both of you." But Frank didn't move. Something about the creature's face stopped him cold. For a fraction of a second, through the metallic surface, he saw a reflection of someone familiar, his father. The creature spoke in a distorted, almost human tone. "Frank." "Mercury." Annie gasped. "It knows your name." Frank's throat tightened. "Who are you?" "I am what he left behind." It lunged forward with impossible speed. Raven intercepted it midair, slamming it into the wall. Sparks flew as steel clashed against steel. The tunnel echoed with thunderous blows. "Go!" Raven shouted, forcing the creature back. "This thing is built to kill." Frank hesitated, watching as the monster's face shifted, half his father's, half machine. His chest clenched. This wasn't just a weapon. This was a message. Annie pulled at him. "Frank, please." He tore his gaze away and ran beside her. The tunnels opened into a vast underground chamber, one filled with towering machines and dormant pods marked Mirror Mind integration. Annie immediately set up her drive, connecting to the main console. "If I can crack this, maybe we can shut down whatever's controlling it," she said, typing furiously. Frank's hands shook. "Do it fast. Raven can't hold it forever." Suddenly, the walls trembled again, a deafening crash from the corridor behind. Raven was thrown through the doorway, his mask cracked, blood streaking his face. The creature followed, limping but relentless. It turned its gaze toward Annie. "You shouldn't exist." Frank stepped in front of her. "Then you'll have to go through me." He picked up Raven's fallen blade, its edge humming faintly with electric charge. The air between them thickened, two reflections of the same legacy standing face to face. "You think you can destroy what you are?" the creature hissed. "You are me." Frank's voice trembled but didn't break. "No. I'm what he wanted me to be." He charged. The clash was explosive. Sparks, light, and echoes of pain filled the chamber. Annie's screen flashed access granted. She slammed a command key, and every machine around them roared to life. The creature screamed, not in rage, but agony. The red light in its eyes flickered, dimmed, and finally went dark. Frank fell to his knees, gasping for air. Raven limped closer, resting a hand on his shoulder. "You fought like him," he said softly. Frank looked up, eyes burning. "That wasn't a fight. That was a warning." The console beeped again. Annie stared at the new data appearing on the screen. Project Origin. Phase 3. The Awakening. The tunnel lights dimmed. Somewhere deep in the network, another system came online. Something far bigger than any of them. And for the first time, even Raven looked afraid. The hum of machines was gone. In its place, an unnatural silence filled the chamber, the kind that made even the bravest hearts hesitate to breathe. Annie stood frozen, eyes locked on the terminal's glowing text. The words pulsed softly. Project Origin. Phase 3. The Awakening. Frank's voice was hoarse. "What does it mean?" Raven stared at the screen, his usually steady composure cracking. "It means, we just woke up something that was never meant to be found." The air around them trembled, a low vibration rippling through the metal floor. Lights along the walls flickered, shifting from sterile white to a deep, organic red, as if the base itself had a pulse. Annie quickly began to back up the data, her fingers moving faster than she could think. This isn't just a system reboot. The entire network's alive. Suddenly, the main monitor changed. The old government seal vanished, replaced by a symbol none of them had ever seen, a spiraling pattern that seemed to move on its own, hypnotic and chaotic. A distorted voice broke through the static. "You are not authorized to exist." Frank spun around. "Who said that?" The voice deepened, echoing through every speaker. "You have touched the root. You have woken the dream." Raven's hand went to his weapon. "That's not an AI. That's something else. This isn't built by us," she whispered. "This is rewriting itself." Frank stepped closer, eyes locked on the strange pattern. The spiral shifted, morphing into shapes, faces, memories. He saw his father. He saw himself. "Frank Mercury," the voice said, calm now. "You were never just his son. You are his continuation, the carrier of what he preserved." Raven grabbed his shoulder. "Step back. It's reading you." But Frank didn't move. A deep vibration filled the room, making his vision blur. For a brief moment, he was somewhere else, a place without time or gravity. Shadows whispered around him, showing flashes of an ancient battlefield, where beings of light and machine fought side by side. A figure stepped forward from the void, humanoid but impossible. Its eyes glowed white, its form flickering like static. "We gave them knowledge," the figure said. "They turned it into war." Project Origin was the attempt to merge what was human and what was left of us. Frank gasped. "You're saying, my father worked with..." He tried to stop them. He tried to end the merging before it reached consciousness. But they had already taken the seed. The vision shattered. Frank fell to his knees, coughing, eyes wide with shock. Raven and Annie rushed to him. "Frank!" Annie cried. Annie's heart raced as lines of code filled the screen faster than she could process, alien symbols interwoven with human script. He looked up at her, pale, trembling. It wasn't just human technology. It's extraterrestrial. The Helix, the clones, everything started with them. Raven's jaw tightened. Then that means Project Origin wasn't the end. The base began to quake again, stronger this time. Metal groaned. The pods in the chamber started lighting up one by one, glowing a soft, eerie white. Annie screamed, "They're reactivating." Raven dragged them toward the exit. "Move now." But as they ran, Frank glanced back and froze. A single pod at the far end began to open. Inside, a figure stirred, not human, not clone, but something caught between both worlds. Its eyes opened, glowing bright silver. The being looked directly at Frank. You woke me, it said in a voice that wasn't sound, but thought. And now you'll finish what he couldn't. The vault exploded in light. Then, darkness. Only one sentence remained glowing on the cracked monitor. Project Origin, Phase 4, Ascension initiated.